Right, so we're diving into some La Liga action today. A really interesting matchup, looks like.
Oh, yeah. Should be a good one.
Barcelona taking on Osasuna. And, we got a listener request, actually, to break down this preview.
Yeah, from that long
Yeah,
podcast.
exactly. That's the one. So, full disclosure, we're not going to listen to the whole thing hours and hours long, but
Definitely not.
we've got all the key takeaways from the preview, and we're going to break it all down. Barcelona really need this one to stay in the hunt for the top spot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's getting to that point in the season where every point really matters.
Right, every single one.
Yeah.
So, first things first, what's the preview saying about, the kind of the mood around Barcelona, the form?
Well, yeah, the preview kind of paints a picture of, kind of inconsistent performances lately, which, puts a lot of pressure on the manager, the players, everyone at the club, really.
Yeah, got to be tough, when you're expected to win every single game.
Exactly. And the expectations at a club like Barcelona are always sky high.
For sure. But they are at Camp Nou, at least for this one.
Yeah, that's a big plus. Camp Nou is a fortress. Can't underestimate that home advantage.
Yeah, the crowd can really be a 12th man
Yeah.
sometimes, for sure. And offensively, looking pretty good, at least on paper.
On paper, yeah. I mean, you got Lewandowski, you got Felix, and, this young kid, Lamine Yamal, making waves. So the firepower is definitely there.
Yeah, and, they've been known to put up some big scores, so
Yeah.
definitely some potential there. But what about Osasuna? What are they bringing to the table?
Well, the preview describes them as like a, really well-organized team, very disciplined, and, their bread and butter is that counterattacking football.
Classic underdog tactic, right?
Yeah, exactly. Soak up the pressure, hit them on the break, and they got some players who can hurt you. Budimir and Moy Gomez are the names that stand out. So, Barcelona can't afford to switch off at the back.
Yeah, if they get caught napping, that could be it.
Yeah.
And in terms of strengths and weaknesses, I mean, how does the preview break it down for each side?
Well, for Barcelona, obviously, the strength is that attacking play, as we talked about. But defensively, they've been struggling a bit, especially with some injuries in the back line. So that's definitely something Osasuna will be looking to exploit.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a classic Barcelona thing, right? Yeah, amazing going forward, but maybe a little suspect at the back.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a theme for them. And then Osasuna, as I said, solid defense, very quick on the counterattack. But the preview notes that they can struggle in possession against the really big teams.
Yeah, so if Barcelona can control the tempo,
Yeah.
kind of starve them of the ball, that could be a big factor.
Right, exactly. It'll be interesting to see if Osasuna can, weather the storm early on.
And tactically speaking, what are we expecting to see? How does the preview think this one will play out?
Well, they're saying Barcelona will probably try to dominate possession, press high, really try to pin Osasuna back and force some mistakes.
Makes sense. I mean, it kind of plays to their strengths, right?
Yeah, exactly. But the preview does caution that Barcelona needs to be wary of those quick counterattacks. If they overcommit going forward, Osasuna can punish them.
Yeah, those transitions can be brutal, especially against a team that's so well drilled on the counter.
Absolutely. One lapse in concentration and, the ball's in the back of the net.
And that kind of leads into the big question that the preview poses. Is this going to be a comfortable win for Barcelona, or can Osasuna pull off a surprise?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, right? Can Barcelona break down that Osasuna defense? And can they avoid getting caught out on the break? It's going to be fascinating to watch.
And, you can't discount that psychological factor either. I mean, Barcelona are under pressure to win this one at home.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot riding on this game for them in terms of their league ambitions.
Right. And sometimes that pressure can lead to mistakes. Maybe trying to force things a little too much.
Exactly. And that's where a team like Osasuna can really capitalize on that. They'll be patient, disciplined, and wait for their opportunity.
So just to kind of sum it all up, we've got Barcelona, the attacking juggernaut, but a little bit leaky at the back. And then Osasuna, very organized, defensively dangerous on the counter, but maybe lacking that ability to really control the game.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. And, it really highlights the contrasts in styles, which should make for a really compelling match.
Absolutely. And, this is kind of speaks to a broader point about football tactics in general. You've got this possession-based approach versus the more reactive counterattacking style.
Right. And both can be successful.
Yeah.
It really depends on the players, the manager, the specific circumstances of the game.
For sure. And, something for you, the listener, to think about, when it comes to these high-pressure games. Do you think that dominant possession style or the more opportunistic counterattacking approach is more effective?
Yeah, it's a great question to ponder. And,
Mm.
how much does that pressure on a team like Barcelona to win at home, how much does that affect their decision-making, their performance on the pitch?
Definitely something to keep in mind as you watch the game unfold. But that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for listening.
Always a pleasure.
We'll catch you next time.